Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. My name is Joseph Sangle. You're fired up and hilarious host of this podcast. We are here to help you win with your money with right now relevant financial tips to help you take your next step in your journey to live a fully funded life. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Megan Hibbard. Are you fired up today?
Fired up.
Fired up. I just realized I've worn the same shirt in like 3 or 4 podcast recordings in a row. Is that amazing? It's really amazing, actually. I like this shirt. This is my podcast recording shirt. It's powered purple.
Powered by purple.
Yeah, powered by purple.
And Nike.
It's awesome. And we, in our last episode, we talked about something really important. We gave a name to something that a lot of people experienced but didn't really know what it was, and they use a lot of words to describe it. We gave a name to it. What was that name?
Money wounds.
Money wounds. And we talked about identifying them. So today, we're going to talk about healing them. So remind everybody kind of the question that kind of spurred us on for this.
Yes. So last week, somebody wrote in to ask us the question. They said they had this, they had bought a house and the house went to short sale. And then they had invested in the stock market, and it was right before the bubble crashed.
This is the big crash of 2007, 8, 9.
Yep. And so now they had this, they couldn't bring themselves to buy another house or invest in the stock market. And they have seen over the last 10 years the potential that they've lost. So they've seen all the ways the stock market has gone up and the housing prices have gone up and all these things have happened, and they haven't been a part of it and they don't know what's going on. So last week we identified it as a money wound. And this week we want to talk about how to heal that money wound and taking your next step.
Right. And so hopefully if you're a regular listener to the podcast, you've probably already applied this. You kind of identified different money wounds that you or some loved ones have. This week, we're going to talk about how to address it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we do that, we're going to go to one of the most amusing and informative sections of the podcast. You know what time that is. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
The Monday Money Tip Podcast is sponsored by the Fully Funded Life Membership Program. The Fully Funded Life Membership Program provides all you need to begin winning with money and live a fully funded life. Fully Funded Life includes 4 key components: courses, challenges, coaching, and community. Courses provide financial education. Challenges help you make massive progress in a specific money skill. Coaching is provided by the Fully Funded Life Certified Coaches through open office hours held multiple times each month. All of the courses, challenges, and coaching results in an outstanding community that help equip, motivate, and encourage you to take your next financial steps toward your fully funded life. Fully Funded Life. Courses, challenges, coaching, community. All that's missing is you. Learn more and receive a special offer for Monday Money Tip listeners today at fullyfunded.life/MMT. That's www.fullyfunded.life/MMT.
Well, today, for the current money events section, I want to have like some unbelievable music. That'd be awesome. If somebody could put some to this. I'm headbanging if you're watching on YouTube.
Is it like heavy metal?
Yeah. I'm gonna bring it with this, and it's for some foolish money decisions. Dun, 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 dun. Foolish money decisions. Do you like it?
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Anyhow, I ran across an article. It was interesting, called "The 22 Most Foolish Financial Decisions Ever Made."
There you go.
Now, when I saw that, I thought it'd be like a person who spent their Bitcoin before it went to $7 billion or whatever, that they spent the equivalent of $7 billion on a pizza. I heard some story like that. Somebody did that. But it's not that. It's not like individual stories. It is a interspersing of a bunch of individual stories. And so we're going to include a link to this article on this titled, "The 22 Most Foolish Financial Decisions Ever Made." That's in the show notes. But I thought I would share 5 or 6 of them that caught my eye. Sound good?
Yes.
So number 2 was too much housing debt and spending. So really this was from like a retirement website, and they were asking people to look back over the lifetime of preparing all this stuff. And they were looking at this and saying, what was the most foolish financial decisions you made in that time frame? And the number 2 one was they spent too much on their house. They had too much house and they just spent too much money. And I think that's interesting. You know, it's hard to tell how much house you need.
Yeah.
You know, the human nature is just more. I just need more. You know, You get the first house that's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, the standard, whatever it is.
Yep.
But then you're like, man, it'd be nice to have a half bath, for guests when they're over. So they're not over there in the kids' bathroom because the kids just ransack the place. It looks horrible. And then it's like, what we really need is we need a 4th bedroom. We need a guest room. And then it's like, what? We need a pool house. And then we, of course, need a pool to go with it. It just, but the people said too much housing debt and spending. And then number 3, I thought was really interesting, was panic selling. And I think that's kind of what spurred this to be part of the current money event section is, 15 months ago or so, March 23rd, 2020, we had panic selling happening.
Yeah.
This is why the market collapsed. No one knew what was happening with COVID. Yeah. And so they were selling, and it drove prices down. That's panic selling. In other words, people had money in the stock market that had no business being in the stock market, and they're fearful of losing value, so they sold. And all the people unanimously said, man, I wish I had not done that. And the number 6 got my attention.
Yeah.
They said they married the wrong spouse.
Yikes.
Not like I looked at that and said, this is confusing. You mean to tell me you got to your wedding and accidentally married the wrong person? Like, that seems really challenging. Like, if you're the groom, you look for the person who's wearing all white. It seems to be the person that you're getting married to.
I don't think that's
were they
what they're
hidden?
referring to.
I was really confused by it. But they really said, basically, that they did not really think through who they were marrying.
Yeah.
And they married a person. I read in here, there's lots of examples of it, which is horrible. But one spouse said that they earned their paycheck only to have their spouse invest all of it in day trading and stocks.
Oh, gosh.
And literally lost over $1 million doing it.
Oh, my goodness.
And said, hey, I'm going to have a much lesser retirement because of it. And I lost 15 years of my life because of it. And I just sat there and I said, that is horrible. And I wonder what part of that 15 years it would have been, hey, this isn't working. We need to go get some counseling. I don't know if they did or not.
Yeah.
But, I'm just actually grateful that Jen Sangle chose to marry me and stuck around long enough for me to get my act together. This is awesome. So number 13 was using emotion to make a financial decision. We're talking about the 22 most foolish decisions ever made, financial decisions ever made. It's an article I found. Using emotion to make a financial decision. Man, I'm telling you, isn't this a big one?
Yeah.
Using emotion. Have you ever made an emotional financial decision?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do it, and then after, like, the next day you wake up and you're like, why did I do that?
Yes.
Like, why did I spend that money on whatever it was? Or why did I not
This is why we take stuff back to the store, right? That's why we ship stuff back to Amazon. Emotion made us do it, and then a negative emotion made us ship it back.
Yeah, true.
But using emotion to make a financial decision, usually not a good combination. I heard it from a preacher. Oh, I'm going to preach now. He said, whenever you're feeling under the stress and the duress, you should look back and say, I actually made this decision when I was in my right mind. And so that's a really important statement. Hey, remember, when you're under that pressure and the decision, a lot of people are saying you shouldn't do that or whatever, remember that you made this decision when you're in your right mind. That's really good. What he's really saying is you did it unemotionally. Yeah. This was a big one, number 19, skipping family vacations.
That's one thing I do not do. I always go on family vacation.
That's why we're on this podcast. That's why we make such a good team, because I think of all the things that we value, vacation is one of them.
Yes.
Like, you have been around the planet in the course of this podcast. You've been to Greece. You've been to Turkey. You've been to the Holy Land in Israel. You've been to Puerto Rico.
India.
You went to India. I've been to Hawaii, Alaska, England, France, Italy, Puerto Rico. I went to a bunch of Caribbean islands, Barbuda and Barbados. I didn't know Barbuda was one.
I love the Caribbean.
St. Thomas, Aruba.
I've been to
St.
Lucia.
Antigua. You've been to St. Lucia. I've been there once. So don't skip family vacations. They're unbelievable. You make memories. These are the memories. They will last way longer than the toy.
Yeah, our family vacations, I mean, usually they consist of like a South Carolina beach. So they're not always that crazy. But every now and then they get
I would say
crazy.
also, You mean every quarter, every 6 months? What's every now and then?
I wish.
This thing about skip family vacations, one of the things I love about family vacations, all this stuff, and the advent of our phones is of time hop or Amazon's This Day feature or Google's On This Day feature where you get to be reminded. And, I don't get to do it every day, but I did it this morning and I went through all the photos and mine go back to 2003 of what happened on this day. And I see little pictures of my little son. He was sitting on the Houston Fire Department's at the Bush Intercontinental Airport. My brother was over that part of the fire department in Houston, and he's sitting there on the front of those big old $1 million fire trucks. Awesome. My little bitty boy. And then number 21, claiming Social Security early at age 62. They regretted it greatly because it limits how much you can earn. Once you reach full retirement age, you can claim Social Security and your earnings are not limited. And it doesn't affect your Social Security benefits. So I just really strongly encourage you, go read this article. There's 22 most foolish financial decisions ever made, and it can maybe help you avoid some of them. Yeah. So that's it for today's Current Money Event section, long-winded edition.
All right, our success story today comes from Frances, and she says, "Thank you for all your emails and the good work."
Somebody's thanking me for all my emails? Yes. Send more.
Sound advice and plans you've given. At this point in our lives, my husband and I no longer have credit card debt. We just have our home and the car we just purchased. We waited to get the car until we knew we had a plan to get it paid for as soon as possible. Due to taking your good advice, when my husband lost his job a few years ago, we were able to weather 9 months of unemployment. Since he went back to work, we've been on rebuilding our savings and eliminating all of our other debt. Since we attended your seminar at Central Christian Church a few years ago, we've gotten a handle on our finances, for which we're very, very thankful. I've given copies of your I Was Broke Now I'm Not book to relatives and godchildren as graduation gifts, and believe me, it's gotten a good response. No one teaches young adults how to manage finances, and the book has opened their eyes. Your work is helping others to prosper financially in a biblical way has been a gift.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, we need to go back to Las Vegas.
Let's go.
We've had so many people we've been able to help there. Pastor Judd Wilhite has allowed us to be able to do that, I think 4 different times through the years. Been so honored to do that. We got to go back. That's a place where greed runs over.
Yeah. Does the whole team get to go this time?
Yeah, the whole team gets to go. It'll be awesome. We're going to go when it's 114 degrees, but it'll be a dry heat. But listen up, Frances, thank you so much for these kind words. I love it that you have no credit card debt. And you're acknowledging something. You bought a car with debt, but you have a clear plan to pay it off rapidly. And I think a lot of people feel like once they get debt free, they can't ever go back. And I don't think we've ever said that.
Yeah.
Ideally you wouldn't have to, but hey, this may be the last one you have to finance, because if you pay it off really fast, man, by the next time you need a car, you'll probably be able to pay cash for it. But the fact that you're able to weather 9 months of unemployment, that is huge. And the greatest thing is you're giving this information, this knowledge, this financial education as a gift to the next generations. And as you rightly mentioned, Frances, they aren't teaching this stuff. And you teaching it to them and us being one part of that journey, we're so excited to be a part of it. Thank you so much for taking time to share that with us. We celebrate all that has happened in your life. That's awesome.
All right, our featured question for today. So we're going to remind you what we talked about last week so we can move forward in this episode. So our question for last week is, I need your help. I bought a house back in 2007 and then lost it in a short sale due to the housing collapse. I had also just bought stock right before the big financial mess that happened at the same time. Because of this, I have been terrified of purchasing a home or investing in the stock market. For the past 10 years, it seems like I've missed out on so much potential. I really want to buy another house and invest, but I just can't seem to do it. What's going on with me? Yeah.
Yeah. And so last week in episode number 159, if you want to go find it by number, we identified these as money wounds and ask each of our listeners to reflect on their own money behavior and identify their own money wounds. And trust me, we all have money wounds. So this week, we're going to talk about, after we've identified them, how can we work to heal them? And so we've got some points we want to share with you. And of course, some of this stuff goes even deeper, and you need to go meet with a licensed psychologist to help you navigate some of this stuff, because it's had pour over effects to lots of areas of your life, abuse even. And so we're not psychologists here, but we are moneyologists, and we know that this is an issue we deal with all the time. And these are things that are proven ways to help you be able to address these money wounds. So what's the first one you would share with them?
So the first one is healing doesn't always mean gone.
Yes. So important to recognize. We're not trying to get these wounds gone. As a kid, as a budding engineer, I took a firecracker-powered rocket upside my head. And it healed me up, but it doesn't mean there isn't any evidence remaining.
Is that why you always say you're fired up?
Yeah, maybe. I knocked out, fired up, something. But there's a scar right here. If you're watching on YouTube, I have a scar right here, and it's curved. And if you match it up to a bean can, a Bush's green bean can, baked bean can, it'll match up pretty good. There's a scar to remind me. Luckily, I can lift my eyebrows and stuff like that. But I also had surgery right here where part of my skull was removed.
Oh, gosh.
Because they thought I had a very serious child illness, and at 3 years old, I had to have head surgery. And you may not even know that.
I didn't know that.
But there's a scar there to remind me. And I remember as a kid, when I would get hit there, it would kind of, it would shake me up. Now as an adult, I don't even know. But in the same way, your expectation shouldn't be that all of your money wounds will just go away. They may fade over time, but some of them will continue to remain for years or even decades. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
So think about people who went through the Great Depression. So which generation of your family went through Great Depression? Was it your grandparents or your great-grandparents?
My grandparents.
Okay.
I think.
So my grandparents they had my father in 38. They had their first child in 34. So coming right in the heart of the 30s were basically the Great Depression. Right?
So my grandparents probably were really young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my dad is a child of the Depression. And they are all hoarders, it seems like. This is why, my brothers and all, we crack up about it because my mother cannot throw away any container. The whipped cream container, the lunch meat container. It's plastic. You can reuse it 700 million times, and you can. The Dixie cups, we write our names on it, and at Christmas, the average Dixie cup has 5 or 6 names written on it.
Oh, my gosh.
Because it's been reused that many times with a Sharpie marker, and she washes them all, and we use them again. And it's because of people who went through that. They hoarded everything because they went through such a horrible time of lack.
Yeah.
And they don't know when it's going to happen again, and they became very, very, very frugal. And so healing doesn't always mean gone, and healing isn't, it means there's scars left. But here's how you can work on the healing, right? So this wound on my head is healed. It's healed. It's got a scar, but it's healed. It's got a reminder there. But how did it get healed? So number 2, how do we heal these money wounds?
So number 2 is face the money wound head on. Pun intended?
Pun intended, my head on, right? No, but you got to face it head on. And so when I had, it was an urgent, acute situation, when I came to from being knocked out by my rocket, it did not follow my 10, 9, 8, 7 countdown launch. It just did spontaneous ignition when the wind caught the flame and lit the bottom of the fuse instead of the top. Here's the thing. I had an acute situation. I was gushing red fluid from my head, and it needed addressed. So we addressed it head on. We went to the doctor, and I told him, because they were illegal, I told him I'd tripped and fell on a bean can. He still doesn't know for the life of him I fell down and cut my head like that.
I'm sure.
But I have repented of my lie. But so how do you defeat a money wound? I had to get stitches, right? I had to get stitches. If I did not get stitches, trust me, it would be a mess up here, right? So listen, how do you defeat a money wound? You got to speak the truth about it out loud. If it helps you, which it often does, you got to speak about it. So I'm going to have Megan share the lie.
Yes.
And then I'm going to beat it back with the truth. So I'm facing the money wound head on by speaking the truth to the lie. So share a lie, and then I'm going to immediately jump in. I'm going to just pounce on your statement, right? And tell the truth.
All right. The lie is you're going to lose this house like the last one.
Nope, that's not true. You're not going to lose a house like the last one. I've prepared for this home. We're helping this person who wrote this in here. But I prepared for this time. I built more financial margin than I ever had before. Plus, I've learned to live and operate on a budget from I was broke, now I'm not each month.
There you go.
Period.
All right.
Tell us another lie.
The next lie. Your stock purchases are the worst. These are going to collapse in value again. You are a loser at this.
No, your stock purchases are not the worst. They are not going to collapse in value again. I've attended several hours of training on this, and I've learned a ton about how to value a stock. Plus, I'm investing money that I absolutely do not need in the next 5 years so that I will have time for the stock to recover any value it might lose in the short term. That's the truth.
There you go.
And 97% of the 5-year periods of the stock market have made money. It's a good gamble.
It is a good gamble.
That's the truth. You know the lies you want to bring my way?
Yes.
Okay, bring it.
You're very feisty. All right, the lie. You grew up in poverty. You have no right to prosper.
That is simply not true. Hundreds of millions of people are prospering. This can be true for me and my family too, as we make wise money decisions. So, poverty, schmoverty, we're going to prosper around here. Any other lies you want to bring my way?
All right. The next one is you need, insert somebody's name here, to help you survive financially.
Yeah, that's not true. I have positioned myself to prosper with my own income. Plus, I found ways to produce method number 2 income that I do not have to work for to help secure my ability to independently thrive. Is that all you got?
Last one.
Oh, you got some more lies.
You are done with money. Just give up.
Well, the devil is a lie. I'm going to gain wisdom so that I can't help but thrive. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Do you see? So some of this is, I'm being a little humorous to make light of what can be a very dark situation. But if you want to heal, you got to stop the lies. And you've got to, this is why if you've not listened to episode 159 on identifying money wounds, it's so important to identify them. Because if you don't identify them, then you can't address them head on.
Right.
And you can't speak truth to the lie that they start informing you. And so many people we meet do not really believe that they can prosper. They believe that, Megan, you can prosper. They believe I can prosper. They have no doubt. They believe in me.
Yeah.
But what they have problems is believing they can. They have problems believing they can survive on their own because their mommy and daddy have still been supporting them and they're in their 40s. And they've never been able to be independent financially.
Yeah.
And they believe that because they grew up in poverty, it's a poverty mentality. It's a known thing that they don't have a right to prosper, but they can.
Yeah.
No one else in their family is, but they can. And it starts by addressing it head on by speaking truth to lies. Every time it pops up, the truth overcomes the lie. Truth overcomes the lie. Like rock, paper, scissors, truth trumps the lie every time. Speak truth to the lie you're telling yourself.
All right. And then number 3 is apply the basic financial tools and key principles.
And I don't think this can be glossed over. This is so important. If you truly, want to heal from money wounds, you've got to have right behavior, right activity. And you've got to do right behavior and right activity over great periods of time.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing budgeting?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. It's been a while. I mean, I guess you could say you could count from when Jordan and I started together because I feel like that changed. But, I mean.
So how long you been married?
We've been married almost 6 years.
Almost 6 years.
But even before that, I was probably since I was in college. Well, no, I mean, I opened.
So longer than a decade.
I would say high school because I have always been
since high school.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So at least a decade, maybe a couple decades headed there.
Yeah.
Right? So you've made it your habit to prepare and follow a monthly budget. Has it helped you?
Yes.
What if I told you should just wing it? You should just start winging it. What would you say? The devil is a lie, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because you know how valuable of a planning tool that is for you. Do you have copies of your old budgets?
Probably somewhere.
Do you have a Google document? How do you track all your budgets?
We have a Google document.
Yeah. Do you just write over the budget each month? You just write over the numbers and do a new one? Or
there's tabs.
Do you save them? So you have tabs. How far back do the tabs go?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, probably not too far back because we haven't been doing Google the whole time. But Jordan and I, that's the whole time we've been doing Google Drive. That's just what we use.
So preparing and following a monthly budget, I'm telling you, If you want to beat back money wounds, the budget brings clarity and it removes emotion.
Yeah.
And money wounds prey on emotions. So it helps strip out emotions, and there it is in pure math. And the math don't lie. So it's very important. What's another way they can apply basic financial tools and key principles?
Yes. So another thing is you can track your net worth at least annually, but quarterly is better.
Yeah. So yesterday morning, guess what I found myself doing when I was supposed to be writing Monday Money Tip podcast episodes?
I'm assuming your net worth.
I was updating my net worth because I had not done it for 2 months. And I like to do it monthly, but I hadn't done it for 2 months. We've been very busy. And I sat there and I realized, hey, it's been 2 months. It's been exactly 2 months since I've updated it. And so it took me about 40 minutes to go get all the different numbers, plug them all in and get the updated number. But that's so valuable because it helps you know where you're making progress, where you're not making progress. And just like with budgeting shows you for this month, what net worth does allows you to see what's called the balance sheet stuff. Because your budget is cash flow. It's what's happening with your money that you're making this month and where is it going to be deployed to. Your net worth allows you to snapshot the value of your house, the value of your car, the current value if you have a mortgage or a car loan, the value on your credit cards, right? The new value of your investment accounts. It allows you to see the stuff that isn't affecting your monthly cash flow, but one day that will have a huge bearing because it is from those accounts, your net worth, that you're going to live off of.
Right.
That's your type 2 income potential. And so you got to track net worth at least annually. Yeah. But quarterly is better. Monthly, well, you get a gold star on your chart.
Yep. All right. The next one is save for known, upcoming, non-monthly expenses, and we call them Qs.
Right. So listen, if you truly want to prosper and beat back money wounds, there's something, I can't even really describe it other than it's heartwarming to know that you're saving every time you get paid for things that are important to you, that you know are coming, that are financially important. Christmas, vacations, as which you already mentioned, we love vacations. We talk about things like car repairs and maintenance, like just having money in that account for car repairs and maintenance. When that tire, when you look at it, it's like, that doesn't have a lot of rubber left on it, right? And you've got an SUV.
Yeah.
That is that's $1,000 maybe for new tires.
Expensive.
And if you've got money in that account, well, that known upcoming non-monthly expenses, man, it's so huge that you've saved for it.
Yep. All right. The next one is build and fiercely protect your rung 2 and rung 5 emergency funds.
Right. So whether you're in that struggling moving to stable and you've got that 1 month's worth of savings, that rung number 2, or if you're moving from stable to surplus and you're rung number 5, at least 3 months worth of expenses and savings, that emergency fund, man, it eliminates a lot of the day-to-day worry to worry. How do I make it to the next Friday? How do I make it to the next paycheck worry? That all goes out the window.
Yeah.
It just disappears. And I tell everybody who is in struggle mode and they've got lots of money wounds, they've never had money in the bank. I tell them, hey, can you imagine getting paid and not even remembering it's payday? And they look at me literally, to borrow a line from a Christmas story, like I have lobsters crawling out of my ears from Ralphie, you know. But that's true. And people that know what I'm talking about, they're smiling while they're hearing me say that. Because they forget when it's payday. Now, payday's important, right? But it doesn't rule how you pay money out.
Right.
Because you've got emergency funds.
Yep. All right. The next one is invest systematically over time.
Right. So investing systematically over time, well, that builds net worth. And that allows you to do something called dollar cost averaging, and you make it your habit to do good financial behavior that functionally is your dream funding. You know, savings allows you to cover daily obligations, monthly obligations, annual obligations. It is investing that allows you to fund wildly huge things. It's what allows you to be able to say one day the word million as describing you.
Yep. All right. The next one is carry appropriate insurance.
Yes. I mean, you've got to have appropriate insurance. Hey, does your workplace provide short-term and long-term disability insurance? If it does not, I urge you to get a policy. It's way cheap, you know, unless you're in wildly dangerous activities like skydiving. That'll be a difficult thing to get short-term and long-term disability. Another thing that I would encourage you to do is have the appropriate health insurance. Don't go without health insurance, and have life insurance. If anybody's dependent upon your income or doing activities, like you're doing activities that would require expenditures to cover it, like a house, somebody's stay-at-home spouse. You know, the stuff they do, they value it at by $80,000 to $100,000 a year for domestic engineer, as they call it. Have appropriate insurance. And the final one is?
The final one is give often.
Right. One thing that I know that beats back money wounds and helps people feel really good about their money journey and their fully funded life is to give often to their church, to others who are in need, to bless their children, to bless their grandchildren. And so I encourage you, make it your habit. And how do you make sure you give often? By preparing and following a monthly budget and putting that in there. It's huge.
All right. Our quote for today is from a U.S. governor, U.S. Senate Secretary of State, U.S. Supreme Court, James F.
A South Carolina governor.
Yeah.
James F. Burns.
Yeah. And he said, too many people are thinking of security instead of opportunity. They seem to be more afraid of life than death.
Isn't that interesting? He's observing this, and he went through World War II, and that's an interesting statement. They seem to be more afraid of life than of death. You know, too many people are thinking of security instead of opportunity. And I think that's one of the things that money wounds do. It makes us run to what is comfortable, what feels secure. But any outsider would look at it and say, that makes no sense. That is not secure.
Yeah.
You need to chase some opportunity, because if you want to truly live a fully funded life, hey, you've got to value opportunity over security and embrace life, because death seems rather permanent for the physical body.
Yes.
Yeah. So live while you're alive and sleep when you're dead. Get fired up.
All right. Our next episode, we are going to have a success story for you, and it's good. It's going to be a good one, so you want to make sure you tune in. But it's one of our team members. His name is David, and him and his wife Amanda have just paid off their house.
Yes,
if you can believe it. Yes,
rung number 7.
So we are so excited for them, and so we're going to sit down with them and have a talk and kind of just a discussion about different financial steps that they've taken, ways that they've been able to do this, how they've been able to pay their house off, and the amount of time that they've been able to pay it off. So make sure that you tune in. If you're a member of the Fully Funded Life, then you've probably met David because he's one of our coaches. And so you've probably been on a Zoom call with him or a phone call or received.
And he travels with me in a lot of financial learning experiences.
He does travel. So he's been at the table. If you've been to like selling books, if you've been to one of our events, he's done financial coaching if you're at one of our events. So he does a lot of things around here. So it's going to be a great episode, so make sure to tune in.
Yeah, and if you like today's episode, please help us get this podcast to other people who could benefit. You can do this by quickly rating our podcast, leaving a review. These rating and reviews help others discover the podcast and make it better for our listeners. If you've implemented one of our tips, share your success story with us by emailing it to us at info@iwbnin.com or by sharing it on any of our social media platforms like Facebook or Instagram. If you're on YouTube, hey, leave a comment. Hey, is there anything you would add to what we shared? Is there anything that you disagree with? Comment. That'd be awesome. While you're at it, click that subscribe button, hit the bell. It'll notify you every single time a new episode releases, which will be every single Monday. Of course, if you access the podcast through any outlet, Google Play or Apple or Stitcher or any of those, you'll see the show notes. Those show notes are a helpful addition to what we discussed. Hey, listen, last week we talked about identifying money wounds, and that was your next step. Now we've talked about ways to heal them. I encourage you, identify 2 or 3 things that you can do starting this week to begin healing your money wounds. It won't make them go away all the way, but it will heal them so that you move forward and progress towards your fully funded life. Have a great week, everybody, and get fired up.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.